One of the most important moves I've made in this whole game didn't last one tribal. It's lasted for about 5 weeks, and that was the decision to push Josh forward as the leader of our alliance. This was my design the whole time. For about 30 plus days, I'd been tight with Josh, and mate, I've been pushing you as a leader of our team. What I was trying to do was to make you a relatively higher threat than I was, and in the final vote, the votes landed on Josh.
Hello, my name is Bandit, and ladies, gentlemen, theys and shays.
Shay, like a statue, looking down the line.
We're back with Australian Survivor Most Ingenious Moves number 5. Without any further, let's just hop into the video, shall we? At number 1, we begin with Hayley in Brains vs Bronze, utilising her public idol as a tool to break the majority Brawn alliance and get the minority Brain alliance into the eventual majority on their new swap tribe. This idol was found by Hayley as part of a risk versus reward twist wherein her, George and Gerald abandoned their tribes halfway through the challenge for a chance at uncovering the idol. Fast forward then to a double tribal, where each tribe had 2 members that could win immunity. On Hayley's tribe, both Andrew and Way, 2 Brain allies, won the challenge and couldn't be voted for at the tribal.
The 4 of us have talked and we do want to stick together with our vote. Now that we have Way and Andrew immune, I've got an idol that's burning a hole in my pocket. So kind of gives you a 50% chance of hitting us. It's only me and Baden that they can vote for. So it means that they only have a 50% chance of getting their vote right.
Back at camp, Hayley then openly stated to the 5 Brawn majority she was playing her idol and there was nothing they could do to stop her. Ultimately, she'd either be playing it on herself or Baden, meaning there was a 50% chance for the Brawns to have all their votes nullified. Now, while it can be argued the Brawn majority would have flipped on each other due to their cracks, irrespective of Hayley's threats, we clearly see coming into the first few merged tribal councils that, in spite of being dysfunctional, the Brawns work together to eliminate Brains. So with Hayley's dilemma, the Brawns have to participate in a perceived 50-50 while voting alongside people they don't particularly like. On top of this, Hayley's group ultimately blindsided Shannon, which was also genius for Hayley for multiple reasons. Firstly, she keeps Simon around as a bigger merge threat, giving her someone the tribe can more easily agree on eliminating if they go to another pre-merge tribal, which they do. Secondly, this takes away Flick's closest ally in Shannon and further isolates her, causing Flick to become more dependent on Hayley and thus form a stronger bond with her. This particular bond goes on to aid Hayley in her powerful swing position at the final 7 through 4 tribals. As a cherry on top, Hayley doesn't even use the idol at this tribal, but allows the fear of her playing it to pit the Brawns against each other. Bluffing playing your idol for someone isn't new, but has overall been less successful than Hayley's amazing move. In Survivor US, we've seen a Mike Holloway and Xander Hastings fail in bluffing playing their idol on other people, such as Shirin and Effie respectively. Russell Hantz also does this with himself, however, in Champions vs Contenders, where he threatens to play his idol, never does, and gets voted out with it hanging around his neck. Classic Russell. Hayley's bluff also completely destroys the power structure of the swap tribe by turning a majority Brawn quickly into the scrambling minority and continues this pressure by voting out Shannon. Contrast this with the 3 Amigos tribal where it takes them 2 idols and an immunity necklace to eliminate Philip, but he wasn't integral to the core group. The power structure stayed largely intact, causing the consecutive eliminations of Malcolm and Reynolds. So, all in all, this is an ingenious move that completely flipped the power dynamics just through clever use of an idol. At number 2, we have Shane Gould and her manipulation of Brian. At the final 6, her and Sean were at the bottom after losing Steve. Now, Sean did find an idol and didn't try to lay this one like a chicken, so that's a plus. So Sean had a secret idol and was playing it on herself, which should have been the death sentence for Shane, as the majority 4 were planning on splitting the vote 2-2-2 to specifically outplay an idol. In Survivor, one of the most important elements is threat management, and Shane utilises this brilliantly by convincing Brian she's nobody to worry about, just little old Shane, and why should he bother voting her out?
Praising Brian and sort of put myself, self-deprecated myself, boosted his ego, because I know he likes that. I'm just pleading with you to not throw me under the bus tonight. I want to just be frank with you and plead my case. Sian's Survivor story is pretty good. She's proven herself in some endurance challenges.
I can confidently say and promise you that you won't be going home tonight. You'll be fine.
Now, this works beautifully as Brian eats this up and flips his vote from Shane to Sean, completely playing into Shane's hands. Through her manipulation of the votes, Sean blocks 3 votes with her idol. Shane only receives 1 vote, despite only having 2 votes and being a part of a clear minority. Sean and Shane put their votes together to eliminate Fenella, who was a physical threat in the game, and broke the strong duo of Shawnee and Fenella while putting all the blame on Brian. Because of this, they are then able to flip Shawnee at the final 5 and eliminate Monica while playing an idol in a 3-2 vote. Now, I know there's going to be one person in the comments saying, well, Shane doing that was just a fluke, and also subscribe to Bandit. And while I wholeheartedly agree with the second comment, I have to rebuke the first. Because Shane then proceeds to use the exact same strategy at the final 4. This should have been awful for her, considering Brian won immunity, the one person they all could agree to eliminate. Her and Sean were identified as a duo, and she likely would have lost in fire making to Shawnee. Instead, she yet again fools the duo by causing them to split the votes with 1 on her and 1 on Sean, while Shawnee is eliminated with the final 2 votes.
I have to really play up to Brian, play the submissive sort of servant of the king. Shawnee, he's approached me and said, offered the suggestion that all 3 of us vote for Sian. And, she and I are close, and I know she's got a good story.
She'll clever enough.
He was blinded by my, basically lying. I think I might have played it pretty well.
Yet again, like in the final 6, Sean and Shane eliminated their targets despite not owning a majority of the votes. To make this even more impressive, Shane manages to convince these individuals she isn't a threat, despite literally beating everyone in the final 6 and onwards, with only Shawnee maybe beating her. Shane ran rings around the core groups and cemented herself into the final 2 because of it. An impressive use of strategy. To switch up the dynamics, I invited the Nullified Take to cover the 3rd move. So, my friend, I'll hand the mic over to you.
Firstly, thank you Bandit Survivor Content for having me on your channel. I'm excited to talk about this next move since it was pulled off by my favourite Australian Survivor player in my favourite season of Australian Survivor. Luke Toki came into Champions vs Contenders 2 with a massive reputation as the people's champion and the king of the jungle. It was a massive surprise to most of us when he managed to duck and weave his way through to the final 5 within the game. At this point in the game, Luke was target numero uno, and everyone knew that in order to win the season, they would need to take care of him. He had a great backstory, one of the best social games in the history of the show, and he was on an immunity run for 3 consecutive immunities in a row. Dare I say that in the history of Survivor, there has never been a bigger threat to win the game than Luke at this point in Champions vs Contenders 2. The move he pulled off at Final 5 to split the vote 2-1-1, sending Abby home, has to be counted as one of the most ingenious moves of all time. Abby at this time in the game was Luke's biggest threat and competition at immunity challenges, coming in second on numerous occasions. Luke knew that he couldn't charm his way to the end and that everyone was coming for him at this point in the game. With the help of finding a tribal council pass advantage, he came up with a plan to use the outsider in the group's vote to his advantage. Pia had just been betrayed by Abby and her biggest ally, Janine, was sent home, which made her vulnerable. A lot of people in this situation may have opted to send a person that they want safe back to camp, but Luke kept his advantage a secret until the last minute so no one could counter his plans at Tribal Council. Luke opted to send Baden back to camp, to the amazement of the jury and the confusion of all of his tribe mates. This, however, is where the beauty of this move comes into play. He took out a number of the newly created group within Baden, Harry and Abby, and he evened out the numbers. He told Pia to vote for Abby, and he told Abby to vote for Harry.
For Harry, right out of the gate, there's whispers that don't involve you.
Yeah, it's not good, is it? Can you at least give me like a fake conversation?
This resulted in the 2-1-1 vote, with Harry and Abby wasting their votes on each other. Ultimately, this gave Luke the best opportunity in the game to move forward and potentially win the game. I believe, based on the information that he had going into that tribal council and keeping the advantage a secret until last minute, he made the best play he could with the info he had. Sadly, it didn't work out for him in the end, since Harry came out of nowhere to win an immunity after struggling all season at challenges. But Luke remained, or even cemented, his legacy as the people's champion.
From the previous Season 2 player to another previous Season 2 player, at number 4 we have Mark Wheels. Now, Mark was a dominant figure within the game that was almost always in the majority, and we even covered his wife Sam 2 episodes ago when she stole Jesse's idol. But Mark's ingenious move comes in the form of using Josh as a shield for the longest time in the history of Survivor, at 5 weeks. While the shield strategy is nothing new, it has been used to great effect before. To appreciate the ingenious nature of Mark's move, we need to add some context. Firstly, as already stated, Mark was a returnee to the game, only one of 4. On top of this, he had a great story as a military man with a family, was a strategic powerhouse, and owned 2 idols for a strong portion of the game. Every point of why people should have gotten rid of Mark is addressed by Jesse in his final jury speech.
You came in here as an ex-SAS soldier, 115 kilo, you're 6'3", you're a returning player, and you performed the first blindside of the game, removing Andy. Yet somehow you were still underestimated.
All in all, Mark should have been the number 1 target at every tribal, because there isn't a single person in the game he loses to. He beats everyone, and yet, because of his amazing shield strategy, we see him survive pivotal votes such as the final 5 and 4 rounds, where despite being an enormous threat, his shield and Josh takes the votes for him. What's even more impressive is that at the final 4, Mark didn't receive a single vote, and Josh voted for Chrissy over him. Chrissy! The shield strategy has been used many times before, like Jeremy Collins using Joe Anglim as a shield in Cambodia, and Adam Klein using David Wright as a shield in Millennials vs Generation X. However, these individuals let their shields exist as self-sustaining threats, whereas Mark gets more involved and actively pushes the narrative that Josh is the leader of their alliance. with him constantly, artificially increasing Josh's threat level. This exists to solely add extra armor panels to his shield. And if Mark didn't push this Josh narrative so hard and use him as a shield, we probably would have been looking at a different winner for this season. This segues into Ingenious move number 5 with Chrissy at the final 6 challenge. In this challenge, Chrissy didn't use a challenge hack to help herself win immunity, but rather her ally Josh. Now, we've seen this most notably from Adam Klein in Millennials vs Generation X at the final 7, where he helps Ken win immunity so Jay can't have it, but they're still forced to vote out Sunday, a smaller threat, due to Jay's idol. Considering the outcome of this episode, I think this is the most effective challenge assist we've seen, as Chrissy quickly identifies she'll never win immunity, and so teams up with Josh to get him the necklace.
I'm tempted to just pass you Geordie's pieces. I'm so far. All right, let's do it.
Chrissy, giving up on hers.
I think this guy on your left.
And another piece for Josh.
Okay, left.
Wow, Chrissy helping Josh now. 2 more pieces left. This could be it. Last piece, and that's it.
Obviously, she can't touch the pieces, but she is able to look at other people's puzzles, particularly Mark's, and tell Josh where the pieces need to go. Ultimately, thanks to Chrissy's backseat driving, Josh wins immunity, which is pivotal for the tribal dynamics. This challenge hack prevented Geordie and Mark from winning immunity, forcing Mark to burn his second idol in a row at tribal without the safety of the necklace, and Geordie was eliminated unanimously. Say what you will about Chrissy, but her actions caused a knock-on effect that burned an idol and knocked her number 1 enemy plus massive jury threat in Geordie out of the game. Had Geordie won immunity, this could have put her or her closest ally in Josh in major jeopardy. So overall, an ingenious move fully worthy of making this top 5. But once again, it's the end of the episode. Thank you all for watching. If you did enjoy, make sure to subscribe and leave a like on the video. And make sure to check out The Nullified Take. He has some great Survivor content on his channel, with all appropriate information linked below in the description for him. That's the end of the video. Make sure to comment down below any ingenious moves you think I missed. And as always, peace!